pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call meeting to order. So, welcome on a nice little snowy night, but actually not too bad. For everyone that's here and then also watching on Zoom, typically we have John Paciotti, our counselor to my left, and then Stephanie Thibodeau, counselor and vice chair, Michelle Flewelling, our town manager, Counselor Peter Lawrence, our secretary, and myself, Matt Townsend, council chair. In Zoom, we have Christine Keller, the town clerk, and Dwayne Bickford, our other counselor. So the first order of business are public announcements. Details may be found at www.fairfieldme.com. Number one, Fairfield is hiring in all departments. Contact the town office. Number two, for the 2021-2022 tax foreclosed property acquired by the town on January 22nd, 2024, 30-day buyback period, all outstanding debts shall be paid by Monday, February 21st, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. Number three, third quarter property taxes are due February 7th, 2024, and may be processed in person, online, over the phone, mailed, or via the drop box located at 19 Lawrence Avenue. And number four, dog licenses expired December 31st. To avoid the state mandatory $25 late fee, registrations must occur by January 31st. Proof of rabies vaccination is required at time of registration. Now our second order of business, public hearings. There are none. Number three is the third order of business. Public comments, limit 3 minutes. Members of the public may speak to the council or request opportunity to speak on a specific item that is on the agenda, or may email comments for council to info@fairfieldme.com by 4 p.m. of the day of meeting. Submitted content may be read aloud this time. Any submitted content?
Not that I'm aware of, but I would double check.
Not that I'm aware of.
Nope.
Yes, Paul Nichols.
Yep.
I know you got something on number 7.
Yes.
For Lawrence Avenue.
Correct.
I can read this email. I'd like it to be part of the record.
And you sent me
That
an email.
I had sent
Great.
you.
Yes, so whatever's worked best for you, Paul, if you'd like to speak during public comments, or you rather hold and wait until that time comes up?
I think where it's pertaining to that,
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to have the opportunity to read it because there's some ideas already presented to you.
Now or then?
Then.
Okay, yeah, that's
And
great.
So that was my second thing. I did send a request to be on or speak on that agenda item, but I never got anything back from the town. And I used the site. Punch in what it says to go to.
Yeah.
So if you have any ideas or anything, I did it about 1 o'clock this afternoon. I haven't gotten a response.
So I saw
back.
your email this. I saw
And
your
I
email.
emailed you.
Yep, I saw your email.
also.
So
Yes.
I won't have to debate, but I saw your email about 5 o'clock. I knew I'd see you here, and I wanted to tell you if you want to speak at the time, either way you want to do it, speak at public comments or speak at the agenda item.
I'd like to. I think it'd be best there because
Yeah.
I got what I want to read. It's going to probably take some time, and I know 3 minutes isn't going to last long. One other thing, I'd like to comment on a comment that a council member made at our last meeting, and that was about how overtaxed or you people, the council members volunteer and also have other things going on other than what your elected position and responsibilities are. And it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way because there's a lot of people in the community that volunteer that also have full-time jobs that are not elected, do not get compensated for their time. And I just think that it was not fair I understand and I respect anybody that does volunteer work, by all means. But when that comment was made, it just rubbed me the wrong way, and I wanted to bring that to your attention. I think that every volunteer, regardless of what you do, there's people on the council that sit on other committees, there's people that work every day, just like most of the council members do. And I just think that it doesn't specify or shouldn't be specific to the council members.
Okay, can you say something there, Chairman? I think I said that because a lot of people think we're full-time, or we have a lot of time to answer questions. This phone goes off 24/7, a lot of questions, especially when I'm at work. I have hearing aids in, and that's earbuds, and it's constantly going off. So that's why I made the comment saying we have other lives. We're constantly busy. We try to get back to you, but a lot of people think we're tied to the town full-time. We're not. We're part-time. We're elected officials.
Yes, you are.
And
that's
we're
what-
part-time. We only meet when at this meeting.
I'd like to reclaim my time.
Yeah,
if
no,
I
so,
may.
yeah.
You're right, you are elected officials, and with that comes a lot of responsibility. Whether or not you just meet here a couple of times a month and do other meetings and go wherever you have to go in the state to deal with town business, you're an elected official. That's your responsibility, and you should be available 24 hours a day if there's an emergency. If not, shut your phone off. And if that's not good enough, then don't run for office. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Actually, I wanted to talk
Would you like to run?
oh, sorry. Christine, Carol Ann Bagnulo, B as in boy, A-G-N-U-L-O, or Bagnulo is correct. I want to talk about 31 Lawrence Street, so can I reserve to
Sure,
talk
ma'am.
about it later? Good, because I got a lot of stuff to say, and I just want to hold on that thought.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
Good evening, council. Ronald McLagan, Christine, Fairfield resident. I'd just like to come and ask a few questions tonight. Like to know, I had a conversation yesterday with the town manager, and she mentioned to me that one of the checks went direct deposit for the ice rink. One of the checks went direct deposit. Can you find out where the other money went to? Because I was told only one check went direct deposit to the checking account. So that's one question I have for you. The next question is while I was on the phone with the town manager, she talked to me about the foyer request. If she could, I am asking for her to please read the email to me and to the people about the policy of the foyer request. So if she could please read the email, whether it be now or whatever, it would be nice. It's what it is. I'd like to have everybody be on the same page as transparency of the request. And I was told yesterday by her, they have 5 days to acknowledge the request. I would like to have her kind of transparency to the public.
Sure.
That's another thing.
Yep. Do you want to address that? Do you want to finish your?
If she wants to get the email ready, she can
I can do
do
it
it
when it's done.
afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
My next thing is, chairman and council. I know it's probably long ways out of reach or whatever, but what is the chances of having a fire station put back into Fairfield Center so we have some fire protection? And another thing, Mr. Chairman, what is that fire station being used for right now? Is the second thing. The third thing is if we're not gonna get that fire station back up and running, why are we gonna hold on to it as far as a town building? We've had time to think about this. It's been shut down for a long time. But I think as far as a town having a fire station out there be a wonderful thing. The reason is if these people in town get a call for a house fire out in Fairfield Center, your place, for instance.
Exactly.
Okay? That train's going through town. That fire truck, that fire station is not getting to your house. if we have a call man that is out in that area, could pick up a pumper truck or a tanker truck and get to your house within 15 seconds, 20 seconds, or 30 seconds or whatever, that's time to put water on your house. Just bringing it up to. Maybe you can give me some answers for it. If you could, I would appreciate it.
Sure.
Third thing is my question to you, Chairman and Council, Town Manager, is the fire department a municipal department?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. Okay. Do you ever go under the articles as far as MRS Title 30A, Chapter 153 of the Municipal Fire Department Protection?
I do not.
Okay.
So if you
Well,
want to, do you do, so if you'd
I
like
would
to
like
have,
you-
so
like
like-
for-
so if you'd like to have a good answer for that, I'd love to have some information and I can research it and
Well,
and the
I would
town
like for
manager
you
can.
to research the medical examination part of that article, if you would, Chairman.
So,
And that is for a municipal fire department, and it's for medical examination and procedures for a firefighter to be full-time paid for the municipal department. So if you could look into that, I would very well appreciate that.
What was that title again that you mentioned?
MRS Title 30A, Chapter 153 of the Municipal Fire Department.
very good, we can look into that. Thank you.
And that's, Michelle, that's going to be under the medical examination of a paid firefighter.
Okay.
Okay? So if you could now, please read the email to the public that you sent to me yesterday about the request for the foyer and what we have for information. I would appreciate it. Thank you very much.
That's it. Thank you, and actually, that's an action area that we wanted to talk about, just so that people are aware. Actually, I talked to the town manager because she has had some requests, and so people will understand. That's great.
Transparency is a big thing. And yesterday, she talked to me, she sent me an email, and if you could check on that money, where the rest of it went to.
So
besides
Michelle,
that
maybe
checking
we'll
account
ask
one.
There
Michelle.
are checks sitting in the vault. There are checks sitting in the vault.
So one of the checks went in direct deposit
I
and
said
the
I
other.
thought that it did, I wasn't sure, but that, I would double check on that one. But I know there's at least 2 checks sitting in the vault. They haven't been deposited into any account at this point in time unless the ACH transfer went through, simply because of the fact that those that donated the money for the purchase of a rink. Once, and I'll update folks on that, once we know for certain and the MOU is in place, those 3 businesses or entities that gave that donation will be asked if us keeping that money in keeping with the current plan is fine, or it will be returned to them.
Okay, so yesterday when we discussed, you said one had already been
I
transferred
thought
into.
that it had
had
been
gone
sent
into
as an
the checking
ACH
account.
file, because that's how they send their tax payments, and that's how they sent it, but I'll double check. But
Okay, so
they
and then-
haven't, nothing's been done with any of
So
that
and then
money.
the other one is sitting in the.
2.
The other 2 are
2,
sitting
I know
in
there's
the.
2 in the vault.
In the
for certain.
vault, okay.
Yeah.
So we've got clarification on that. So now if Michelle could please read that to the
Certainly.
public, so whoever's listening on TV and here can get the FOIA request information.
Thank you.
So late yesterday afternoon, I did send Mr. McLagan an email, and it says, "Good afternoon, Mr. McLagan. I was contacted by the town's attorney, William A. Lee III Esquire, today. He indicated that you contacted his office and left a phone message regarding an untimely or unanswered Town of Fairfield FOIA request. Our current public records requests do not indicate that you have an unanswered request. Please let me know if that is not the case. If your question was regarding the timeliness of answers, as we just discussed on the phone, because he literally called while I was typing this email, the 5-day timeline relates to the time frame that is required to acknowledge receipt of a request for information. It is important to note that it is a 5 business day, meaning that weekends and holidays are not part of the calculation. The link below to Fairfield's website, the webpage has the links directly to Maine Revised Statutes website and the laws regarding freedom of access. Please do not hesitate to contact me should you have any additional questions. Freedom of access and records retention records are on the town's website. They are located located under public notices, and the link to that was sent. That link is sent anytime we receive a FOA request at the office. We do acknowledge those. We try to acknowledge those as soon as we receive them. And usually we try to get back to folks within 24 hours, but sometimes that is not the case, and there is a delay for getting that response. We to date have not charged anyone for any FOA requests. No physical copies, I don't think, have been provided to anybody. We send them via email. If you want physical copies, you'd have to pay for the copying. We are working on a process in which these FOA requests can be shared with the general public. We don't think that our website can handle them at this point, so they may just be screenshots that are posted to our social media page until that website can be updated. We started that conversation 2 weeks ago as COVID was beginning to run through our office. We hope to get back to that within the next week so that all of these FOA requests and their answers can be put out publicly so that everybody can see them. That's it.
Thank you, Michelle.
Matt Tully. Does the town of Fairfield have a police department, fire department, and public works separate account budgetary-wise?
So you ask Michelle.
I have to ask you.
So, yeah, so when you say account, what do you mean by that? Do you mean a bank account that has a separate account number on it, or do you mean accounting?
Yes, exactly.
So no, generally municipal, but I'll let the manager, because that is her job. But generally in municipal budgeting, there is a large amount of money in a bank, wherever it's kept, and then everything else is then accounted in separate accounts. So there isn't an account, 569 the police. There isn't 578 for the fire. There isn't 631 for public works. There isn't like that. It isn't like what we think about with ourselves, having a separate savings account, checking account, whatever. So.
Okay, awesome. That's what I needed to find out. Now, I think I've asked this before, but is there a separate account for the cell phone tower and ice rinks / ice rink?
Again, I asked Michelle, but I would say no. There's not a separate account.
Separate bank account, no.
Right.
Okay, so on
if that's
December
what
13th.
if that's what we're referring to. So if you
Yeah.
ask that, if you're asking for separate bank accounts, or whether you're asking if there's separate accounting.
Because on December 13th, 153.44, she did in reference say there is a separate ice rink account.
So I would take that.
That's what I was
So
trying
I don't
to
want to
figure
get. I don't want to take your time. So let us
No.
make the questions.
And as far as the FOIA request, I'd like to find out what statute she was referring to say that under the refusal denial section 4-1A, if a body of government or agency has custody, any member of the public shall and must have access to all documents within 5 days, working days of the receipt for inspection or copy. There's nothing in that says anything about notification of 5 days, period. And that's under the Maine State Constitution. So, and Mill Island Park, I've been having some pretty good interest with that lately, actually, Steph. Is there going to be any vehicular access to that, as you know?
You want me to answer that now?
Yeah.
In reference to the redevelopment plan?
Yeah.
The only access at this time is off from Island Avenue.
No, I mean, if somebody wanted to bring a vehicle in to drop stuff off or equipment or anything like that, are they going to be able to get into the park at all?
The gate does open up.
And is there going to be any power sources over there?
There already is.
Like a stage area or something?
There's already an electrical box on the west side of the island, headed right off from the old road. And if you're referring to a possible venue for
Yes.
staging in the future, that would be accounted for as well.
So you're anticipating such things?
I'm not. I'd like to see it, but it's up to the people to decide.
Awesome. And that is it. Thanks.
Did you have anything, questions unanswered?
Just the clarification of the
FOIA.
FOIA request that there is no 5-day notification.
So, yeah, we can talk to our
I can't
attorney.
hear the question.
Christine, he was
question,
concerned
Christine.
about he'd like to have an answer on the 5-day FOIA. So we'll seek that.
Please remind people to use the mic.
Yeah. Hello.
I'm Tammy Meunier. I live on Newhall Street. First, I want to say thank you to, and extend my appreciation to Sue Jacobs. I believe she's in HR, I'm not real sure. I requested a lot of information recently, and very much appreciate that she got right back to me. It was very detailed. I recognize it probably took a lot of time out of her week. It was a lot of information. So when
you
she
for that.
couldn't find some information, she went to Chief Leary, and he gave his input because he had more knowledge on what I was requesting, and I really appreciate that. Another topic I'd like to bring your attention to this evening is regarding the Chinese triad weed illegal grow houses here in Fairfield. I understand that some of you may not believe it's true. However, I assure you it's very much real. If any of you aren't familiar with this topic, I encourage you to search an article written by Stephen Robinson of the Maine Wire, dated November of 23. It's an excellent investigative piece regarding the Chinese moving into rural communities in Maine for the purpose of growing illegal cannabis. If you aren't familiar with what to look for in one of these houses, you most likely wouldn't recognize anything odd about it. If you're a neighbor, you would notice some odd things, though. Stephen Robinson basically did a lot of work in his investigation into this subject. However, when Mr. Robinson offered to give law enforcement in Maine his information, they declined. I've personally been to some of these addresses in Fairfield. They aren't difficult to find, they are here, and they are real. They stand out when you look at who owns real estate in Fairfield. They do multiple things to change the house to fit their needs for this criminal activity. Some may ask, what's the harm? It's weed. Well, I found at least 5 local cannabis shops in Fairfield, and whether you agree with it or not, these shops are regulated and pay a lot of money to operate within the law. These illegal grow houses cut into the profits of these business owners who are doing it legally. Most of the weed is shipped across the border, but some does stay here in Maine. They also use dangerous chemicals in the grow process. The proceeds, which approximately $4 billion, gets funneled back to the Chinese Communist Party, funds narcotic trafficking and human trafficking. That's a huge problem. Some of these houses in Fairfield have been in production since 2021. So that's a long time if they're being investigated as to why they haven't been shut down here. A friend of mine sold her home in July of 2021 just to find out that it was purchased by someone out of state and turned it into an illegal grow house. It's still there. It's still running. I recognize that recently some were shut down in Belgrade, China, and Cornville, which is great, and I believe they've done 8 raids in 8 months. Awesome. That's great. My concern is Fairfield right now. Why aren't we shutting these down? If I can find them, why aren't we doing anything? It's not fair to the cannabis operators who are doing it legally here, and it's certainly, I don't want money going to the Communist Party in China, okay? Human trafficking or narcotics trafficking. That's my concern. I hope the council will take this time to look into this serious issue right here in Fairfield.
Thank you, Tammy. If he wants to speak, we can talk about it later. If you want to say anything along that line, you don't have to.
I'll hold right now.
Okay.
Good evening. Adam Lorette, I live on Davis Road. I actually had a question around item 24-09, the purchase of the 2023 Ford Transit cargo van. Everyone knows Facebook's a fun place sometimes, and there's all these wild conspiracies that come up. I was actually hoping to use this time to potentially set the record straight on this purchase. I actually had a conversation with the town manager at the last meeting about these franchise fees. Ironic, that's where it comes up on Facebook by an anonymous user. But I would like to just kind of clarify, or have clarified for transparency for the entire town, if somebody could explain the Crossroads TV franchise fees reserve account, how that is funneled, or how that's filled. Is there any taxpayer money involved in that? There was some things about it being an EV vehicle, which, if I'm not mistaken, they have EV Hyundai Konas that are coming up on their end of lease currently. So there was also the question of, why are we purchasing a new vehicle when we have all these other priorities? But of course, if we could, and why the town council has to, if it's not taxpayer money, why is the town council needing to, I guess, order on this?
Thank you. Do you want to?
And I'll answer those when we get to that
Okay.
item.
Are you,
That's easily
any
done.
other questions? I don't want to, that was, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Looks like, any other questions out in Zoom? No. So the MO, so we can talk about, so if they have, so we
Town
can,
manager's report.
yeah, we'll get in the town manager's report.
Sure.
Chief?
Just real quick, on our Facebook page, soon you will see an ad for more help for the police department. As you said earlier, the police department is hiring. We are currently down almost a third of our staff. Our detective is working patrol shifts, and the captain is going to start working patrol shifts this week as well. So we have an ad out targeting people who reside in Fairfield, and we're very interested to hear from anybody that's been thinking in the back of their mind that they want to transition in the law enforcement field. You can email me. My email address is tgould@fairfield-me.gov. And if anybody is interested, we will walk you through the entire process. I'll set up a time when you can come into the police department, sit down with us. We will show you our benefit packages that the town has for us, walk you through the PD, and see if we can get some local people interested in joining the field. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Anybody else with a public comment? Thank you very much. So the fourth order of business, reports from staff and committees. So the first one is the town manager report.
All right, so January 12th through the 18th, I was out of the office with COVID, so that was a wonderful time. I don't wish it on anyone. Please be safe out there. It is spreading like wildfire all over the place. January 23rd, which was yesterday, I met with representatives from Delta Ambulance regarding this year's fee increase, well, the 24-25 budgetary fee increase. They will be going from $15 to $25 per capita, so that's $97,000 to $161,000. So we'll be discussing that when we go over the budget pieces when council has their meeting. This morning, I attended the Central Maine Growth Council Board of Directors meeting. And then, yes, the Central Maine Youth Hockey Association did vote on January 11th, and they have agreed to allow the town to use their synthetic ice rink at no cost, with the first option to purchase that rink prior to June 30th. The association is currently in the process of reviewing and approving the memorandum of understanding that has been sent to them. They were hoping to give me an answer tomorrow that I would have a signed copy. As soon as that is in hand, then we will schedule the rink being delivered and rink set up and all of that. Public Works has done the preliminary work of making sure that the basketball court was plowed off, but obviously with additional weather, we'll have to make sure of that. And that area will be required to be completely swept clean, so we'll be looking for folks to push brooms and that kind of stuff prior to setup. But as soon as we know when that's going to happen, we'll get that out there for information for folks.
Yeah, sure.
Now, she mentioned use, so it's not we're not going to be renting it to own, or it's just going to be used until it's purchased?
So it was the option was for the municipality to be able to use it for free, with the first option to buy for the 30,000. Yeah, and it goes through till June 30th is what the MOU is for.
Just wanted to verify. Thank you.
Yep.
So does that mean after the June, she said 6, was it? No? 30th?
6 months.
Whatever the 6-month time
Yep.
frame is was there a vote on to purchase for that? Was it ever voted on?
Are you asking a vote to purchase it from the Central Maine Youth Hockey, whether they
Yeah,
agreed
the
to
right
that?
to refusal, was there a vote on that?
That was what the council had put forth to them.
We put that forth. We put forth that.
So that
last-
has been
Yeah.
approved and voted
Yes.
on?
Yep.
Okay.
Was there anything else, Michelle, that you had
Nope,
from?
that was it.
Okay. Committee reports, anything from Economic Development?
We will be meeting the first Tuesday in February, right here in council chambers at 3:30.
I'm just looking, sorry.
February 6th.
February 6th, okay. Peter,
Yeah,
on buildings?
we're still waiting on our final report to become the council on the building committee. Within that report, we'll discuss the fire department over Fairfield Center. My department did review that, my committee. That's in the report.
It is in the report.
Yes, it is. So
Thank you.
when that final report, because we had some of the report already, and the pictures and the other stuff from the departments, some other information the town manager's going to put in that final report, then it has to come to us committee to look it over to see it's okay. Then I'll be presenting it through the full council then. So.
We're supposed to have it for this meeting, but hopefully you'll have it by the next
I
one.
understand about that will happen, yes.
And find out what's
Oh, what's, okay, but as of right now, it's being used as storage
for what?
of public work stuff,
Extra fire.
the
Forestry
fire
truck.
department's, the truck in there and other storage. So that's what we found out on our assessment. So that's what's being used for. And I understand too, I had someone tell me that people around town are using that on their insurance. We don't have a fire station close by, any chance of losing the insurance. So I did hear information on that, so.
Can you enlighten me on
So-
what you heard about that or not?
So I would,
Just, probably same thing you seen on Facebook. That's just information saying people are using that location for their insurance, which is not an operational fire department, so.
Correct, because obviously when you, not to speak out of place.
That's right.
Obviously when you.
Could you go to the microphone, please? Because I know they're not, Chad's going to yell.
I can't hear.
yeah,
Obviously, Chairman, sorry to get out of my line here, but when somebody purchases a homeowner's insurance, whether it been 15 years ago on their house or 5 years ago on their house, their homeowners will ask them, how far away from the fire station are you? I'm 5 miles, because they got a fire station right in Fairfield Center. Okay? Your house burns down 2 years later. The insurance company finds out that there's no fire station active in Fairfield Center. Who's liable then? Thank you.
sounds like
Yeah.
insurance fraud to me,
So-
but that's my opinion. So,
When that report comes up, we'll present it to the
Yep.
council, so. And there's no meeting scheduled.
okay. So the PFAS committee, we actually have a tentative meeting for February 6th. So we'll have more information for you that. The fifth order of business, the consent agenda. These items are considered routine or standard business and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the council member so requests prior to consideration of the portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. Item 24-07, order that the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes for meeting number 2024-01 held on January 10th, 2024. Item 24-08, order that the Town Council hereby approves treasurer's warrant.
Do you got a new agenda?
95.
Sorry.
That didn't jeez. All right, here we go. So still the good, so order the town council hereby approves the treasurer's warrant number 95, general fund, in the amount of $195,579.21, not limited to, but including MSAD 49 fuel, motor vehicles, KWD, and the workman's comp.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
There is no discussion.
All go, so we have to go to roll call?
Roll call, Christine, do you want to take it?
Yes, please. Townsend?
Aye.
Thibodeau?
Aye.
Lawrence?
Aye.
Bickford?
Aye.
Pichotti?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. The sixth order of business, take action on the following items of business as read by the council chair. Item 24-09, order the town council hereby considers and approves vehicle purchase of the 2023 Ford Transit cargo van up to the amount of $48,981 to be expended from the Crossroads TV franchise fees reserve account.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Councilor Thibodeau.
And this is for Chad.
This is for Chad.
I'd like to know, do we need a vehicle this large to move all of our equipment? And in looking at the picture that was provided for it, it seems like it's one of the bigger transit vans. It was provided to us last week.
Yes.
At our last meeting.
So
That's correct. It's a full-size transit van, Ford transit van.
Do we need a full-size transit van? That's more insurance.
it won't make any difference in our insurance.
It wouldn't make any difference? I just don't think we need something that large.
The hard part is finding something that we can use. So we do use the Kona now, which is a much smaller vehicle. Everything gets crammed in there. It's usually more than one trip, that sort of piece. So now, if you're talking about the fact of, if you think about what has to be taken to set up for concerts in the park, and if the sound system goes, and all of those pieces. So instead of 3 trips, you can do it in 1, right?
Well, also on the MSRP, it was $51,630. And the price that we would pay is is suggested that we don't pay more than $48,981. I feel that a $2,500 difference on a vehicle of this size and year, I think we could do better with the dickering.
How long's it been since you've bought a new car?
I drive a 2016 Toyota. Yes.
So there's not much wiggle room on MSRP anymore. And this is the state bid price, right? So this is the price that was given with the state bid.
And then also too, last council meeting, we got a different package. This is an EV vehicle. This was just a regular.
No.
No?
The last ones were the ones.
The last ones were EV vehicles.
Right.
So what we had was, we have 3 Hyundai Konas that we leased 3 years ago. One is with the one is with the police department, one's with the code enforcement officer, and one is with Crossroads TV. We got them for 3 years for free. We did not have to pay for them. We just have to pay, I think it's like a $700 restocking fee when we turn them back in. That 3 years is up come June, July, something like that, May.
Yep.
So we're working on those getting these vehicles replaced with vehicles. This is not an electric vehicle. This is a larger vehicle so that we can fit all the equipment that we need to fit into it. And then, as we explained at the last meeting, this is the company, this $48,891 is the price that came in with the state bid price going through Quirk. That's the price that they purchased them for. Well, that's the price when they got the successful bid with the state. This is the price that they would be given for.
Well, it seems to me that we should be able to get something less because it's a leftover. They're not using it. And I think we should at least say, would be willing to get purchased. I think
They
there's
just
should be some
received these
dickering.
vehicles. They asked for them 7 months ago.
But it was my understanding that they were not needed, and at that point, from whoever was going to buy them, didn't buy all of them.
So what happens is when they get the state bid, they order on spec. Same thing happens with cruisers, right? Like they estimate, they check around with all the departments, how many do you need? They order as many as they can to fill that need. I think they had asked for even more and they only got just a few. Even after ordering these vans, delivery was 7 months later, is what it was. So they ordered them hoping, just the same way as like, they'll order 1 or 2 extra cruisers in case something happens and you need to pick one up, there's an accident or whatnot. The supply on vehicles, especially new vehicles now at these dealerships, is very small for us to be able to get them. So, but anyway.
So we were also told that there's enough money in the Crossroads account from franchise fees to cover this purchase. How are we doing with our essential supplies that are needed and equipment in order for Crossroads to run? Will that be cutting in significantly to the accounts in case something breaks? Or is there enough of a cushion there, Chad?
I think that's my biggest question, is if that reserve account will work for you, and so, I mean, where we stand. And Michelle might be able to help there as well.
Okay, so right now, as far as our equipment that we have here at the station, things that we take on the road for doing other events is top-notch. Everything is up to date, even, within the last 2 or 3 years. Even in the time I've been here, from the original equipment we purchased 6 years ago, I have updated a lot of it, and it's all working very good. And I had no concerns there. Everything is working fine as far as that goes. And I don't see anything that would plummet us profusely in the future with what would be left over in that account even after purchasing this van. As far as the size of it, again, all I can say is that, sure, we could probably find a smaller one. Again, it may be that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months out before we end up with it if it's not, in stock anyplace. And I looked at a lot of places to see what was in stock, and just the 2 that I had the examples of was really the only 2 I could find that was comparable to those. And it was hardly anything else, not even passenger vans.
So you looked at other makes?
Yes, I've looked at Toyotas, Kias, Chevys. As far as full-size vans go, Chevy, Ford, and Dodge seems to be the only ones that make full-size vans, other than Mercedes and ones like that. And like Michelle said, with the concert in the park, that would pick up a whole lot of space in that van, taking that equipment up there. Because when I was coming here and doing them for the past 2 years, I was having to bring my car and my trailer to get all the equipment up there to do it. And that's with minimal video equipment. If I start adding in, if I was to take the full sound system and video equipment for doing a full panel to an event, I'm going to say that 3/4 of that van's going to be taken up.
So the size is essential then?
I feel that it is. I really do. And of course, we always hope that we grow.
All right, so my biggest concern is the cost.
Right?
And
So just when it comes to the cost, though, I guess that'd be, again, for Michelle to reaffirm the fact that this is not tax dollars necessarily. It's coming from franchise fees and has been put aside for this reserve account just for this purpose.
I think it's a perfect segue into all of Adam's questions. So, we do have a reserve account for franchise fees. It currently has a balance of $173,471.25. The funds that go into that account, if you have Spectrum cable television, you will have on your bill what is labeled franchise fee, just exactly what it is. And that fee gets mailed directly to us and is used to offset the cost for running the Crossroads television station. Every community has them. Most towns use them to offset property taxes, or they use them to pay Chad to go to their town to film their council meetings, programs, that sort of stuff. So we do definitely have the funds for franchise fees. Crossroads Television is considered an enterprise account. It's the same as our sewer department account, meaning they are departments of the town to be run through the fees that they collect for the services that they provide. So sewer department runs off from the sewer fees, and 50% of their debt is paid through taxation. But there is no tax dollars that are used to fund Crossroads Television at this time, and hasn't been since it was stood up years ago. It's always run off franchise fees and the fees that it collects by the services it provides to other municipalities and other organizations. So there are no tax dollars. We're not looking to purchase an electric vehicle. We already have an electric vehicle. We're looking to actually send that lease back and use this vehicle instead, which we need for its size and capacity for him to do what he needs to do. Is that all of your questions, Adam? And it does require town council approval, because everything that the town purchases, regardless whether it's in the town's regular taxation accounts, departments, or in our enterprise fees, the council is responsible for those budgets, and the council is responsible for approving anything over $10,000.
Sure.
So, obviously, I'm here. So, can you tell me what size? Are we going with a 22-foot box van? Are we going with a 24-foot box van?
Good question.
Is it gas?
Gas.
Dual wheels, I'm taking it, single wheel? So it's gonna be a 22-foot then?
So yes, it's the short wheelbase.
22 foot.
With 130, I think it says.
So it's gonna be gas then?
It's gas, 6-cylinder, all-wheel drive.
The thing about it is, I don't mind that, but it's six cylinder, you're hauling a lot of weight. With a 6-cylinder. I just wanted to see what it was, a box van. I figured it was gonna be a box van, gas job. None of the people have seen what we're trying to buy, or he's trying to buy.
Yeah, good question.
So that's why I just wanted to clarify that it is a box van, gas. Thank you.
So it's not electric?
Is not.
I think that's the misinformation.
Yeah, there's always,
News to,
yeah.
we've been told it's been electric all along.
Nope.
It's like,
You guys have
why?
never looked at an electric vehicle?
I think
No.
you currently have
We
3
have
electric
them right
vehicles.
now.
Yeah,
We have them
like-
right now. They were on a free
So
lease.
it's not electric? No, yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, so I am doing 3 things at once here, so bear with me.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, so for everybody, I'm Chad Smith, I'm the station director here at
The
Crossroads
man behind the
TV.
magic.
And this one just froze up. Give me a second.
We currently, Chad can come back and add to this, but we currently possess 3 electric vehicles.
Right.
What I'm saying is, see, like transparency right there, council people, would be very, very useful to the public.
So we
Know that
can't-
we're going with a gas box van.
So actually it was discussed last time.
And we never said that it was an electric vehicle that we were looking to purchase.
No, we do not. So I've been grateful for the electric vehicle. It has really been fantastic. When we got them 3 years ago, it fit the bill, and the equipment we carried was able to get into it. One of the events we do a month, and I had pictures of it that was in with the things that I gave to the council. When I pack up that vehicle, I am packed right back to front, bottom to top, front seat and everything. I can't even take an extra person with me if I wanted to. So, the electric vehicle is a nice vehicle. In the wintertime, you are charging it constantly. The heater really runs down. The air conditioner does fine. The air conditioner is almost, a quarter of what it takes to power that heater throughout the winter. And with 3 vehicles here, we've been dealing with charging over here at the police station. We appreciate that they put in that charger, and we've kept it going. We do know I know there's an electric van out there, but we're gonna run into the same thing. They don't get the mileage. A full-size electric van, they said would go 270 miles. you can cut that in half in a wintertime easily.
You lose a third of the charge overnight just by sitting there, so they're not nearly as reliable, and typically they're way more expensive than gas-powered vehicles are.
Much more.
So actually, surprisingly too, same price for the EV, and that was through Ford and the Bangor, another Ford, so. So yeah, I don't know where the thing about this being an EV vehicle came from.
Facebook.
Right, Facebook, right. Right. The epitome of fake news, but anyways, so yeah, you can see up on the screen, hopefully there, I mean, that's my vehicle, that's the back of the Kona, empty, packed up for the.
Can I ask him?
Come right up here, Mark.
And this is the
Colleen,
other one.
You can ask me anything, rest of it, so anything, anyways, go ahead.
What's the gross vehicle weight on that? What can it haul? Heavy as shit.
Yeah, it is. So, Michelle, can you get to that
It
point?
is
I think-
8670.
Yes, thank you. That's what I thought, it was around that 80,000 mark.
And what do you think your equipment weighs?
Oh, gosh, not even close to that. It's really not.
The only thing is, it's that 6-cylinder that scares me, man. It's just a lot of burden.
So,
Because my equipment is, I got 8 speakers, 4 gig lights, tables,
right,
bases. It's heavy.
it is extremely heavy. The thing is that, the 6 cylinders, motors nowadays are getting to have more horsepower, more torque.
Yep.
And I believe this one was up and around 270 on the horsepower.
What is it?
And a little bit less than that on torque. And I believe it's going to be enough. I mean, it's not like we're going on extremely long road trips with it. We're not taking it to the county. Nice if somebody hired us from the county, but, things like that.
So my only question is, there's also the Chevy, that is actually an 8-cylinder. Was there any, and it was actually slightly less, but was there any consideration for that one? Or?
But it's also rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, that may have been.
Correct. So the Chevy that I found is also rear-wheel drive. And like I said at the last meeting, anybody that's driven a rear-wheel drive van in a snowstorm, they suck. And unfortunately, I am out in snowstorms. I came back here from Waterville last week in that Kona, in a snowstorm on a Tuesday evening. And that's the other thing, those Konas are horrid in the snow, just as they are. So I can imagine being in a rear-wheel drive van. Yes, that does have the V8. My son has an older V8 like that, and he's lucky if he gets 11 or 12 miles to the gallon out of that thing. It's going to be worse than that V6.
It's 14, says they're 14.
So,
All right, so, thank you, Chad.
yeah.
So,
I have
Council,
one
you
more
have- yeah.
question. Do we have to pay document fees?
If they have dock fees, the only thing we pay would be the title application fee. We don't pay sales tax.
I still think we could get a lower amount for,
I would love for you to go try to negotiate that, Stephanie.
It's not taxpayer funded, right?
right.
I was once married to somebody who hauled band equipment, and I understand how annoying it is to not have the room to maneuver. Another thing is, there aren't many vehicles out there. You could wait several months. I know people don't understand that, but it is a fact, and it's not electric. Amen, let's go.
To me, so we'll actually move this along. Paul, you have Mr. Nichols.
About the electric vehicle thing, I could have swore that, and when I was sitting in a meeting when the council was discussing it, it may have been mixed up, because I was literally under the impression that it was an electric vehicle through that discussion.
But unfortunately, it wasn't, so.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm just saying, I just want to clear the records for, it's not just Facebook, it's from what people may walk out of here misunderstanding, if it wasn't clear. And it wasn't to me, because I just wanted to.
So thank you.
Mention that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I think it's a great job and it's a good deal.
So, discussion on the council. So we're going to have to move right along, actually, this is council discussion. And move the question.
So are you ready for your roll call vote?
So do we have a motion and a second?
Yes, you
It's been a
do.
long time
You do.
ago.
Lawrence Pachati is your motion and second.
Very good.
Townsend,
Aye.
Thibodeau,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Bickford,
Aye.
Pachati.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Thanks for the discussion. Item 24-10, order the town council hereby confirm the town manager's appointment of Jared Dodge and Gavin Dorr as part-time patrol officers.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Move to roll call?
Townsend,
Aye.
Thibodeau,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Bickford,
Aye.
Pachati.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item 24-11, order the town council hereby adopts town council goals and standards 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second, discussion. So there are actually quite a bit of, there were some changes from last time. I think from advice from Stephanie, I think you had a lot of that. Any thoughts?
Well, first of all, this is a lot easier to read. The future focus areas that were discussed.
I can't hear you.
Yep.
Okay. The future focus areas that were in question from the last meeting include historic resources, natural resources, recreation and culture, local economic development, transportation, public services, financial resources, agriculture, and forestry. And the town manager has gone through and listed the progress that was made under each one. So it looks neater.
Yes.
I just have a problem with having the standards, but I think we need to, as a council, this year and in years to come, to have a clear focus of what it is we want to work on for the benefit of the town. When you're looking at all of this here, you've got a lot of things going on.
Yep.
So what is our point of emphasis?
Right, I think it has a key point. There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
And they're all being worked on, but there's like a point of emphasis we should have a focus.
Yes,
So, agreed.
so,
One thing.
Yes.
So, yes, so we had that question about the future focus areas and what exactly those were at the last meeting. And those are specific sections that come from the spreadsheets in the comprehensive plan. One of the things that I think would be a good piece to do is the document that came out of the council's review in 2020 of the comp plan, that every year during your annual orientation meeting and your organizational meeting, you actually get a copy of that document, so that stays fresh in folks' mind, because literally it was just a couple years later and we had forgotten what that future focus areas was actually alluding to. This better defines that, and it keeps that in the forefront every year as well when you're doing that review, that these are the areas of the comp plan that says that need to be part of our focus and decision making. So we're going to get a copy of that document to you. We'll just put it in your mailboxes, but it'll get added to our list of things that we give out every year annually for the organizational meeting as well.
Very good. Thank you, Michelle.
And then also included with that document on the back was the grants that we had received over the course of 2023. You'll see we started reporting those annually to the council, and this document goes out there. This document will actually live on our website as well. But over the course of 2023, all town departments totaled, we received $270,159.92 in grants that only required $5,669.20 in match. So that is a good piece where these departments are working hard to get things done and finding different resources that are not taxpayer dollars. So, great.
Very good. Thank you. Any more discussion? Move to a vote.
Great. Townsend,
Aye.
Thibodeau,
aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Bickford,
Aye.
Pachati.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item 24-12, order the town council hereby adopts amendments to the town council administrative policy and fee schedule.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion.
So the only thing we're really changing here is the word marijuana to cannabis.
Cannabis, right.
That was the only change put forward at this time.
Absolutely.
Any more discussion? Move to the vote. Christine?
Townsend,
Aye.
Thibodeau,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Bickford,
Aye.
Pechotti.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item 24-13, order the town council hereby select recipient of the annual town report dedication.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion.
I think Terry Michaud and I went to school starting out in kindergarten, and he was dedicated to this town, and he died unexpectedly in December, right before the holiday. And I think there'd be no better way to show honor towards his dedication to Fairfield than to have him in the town report as the dedication. So that's my feeling.
Any more discussion? Would you like to move that as a
Well, I can make that
Yeah, let's go ahead and
friendly
do that.
amendment here,
Yes.
that we dedicate the,
John
there
made
was
the motion.
Motion
so-
by Pechotti
Yep.
and seconded by Thibodeau.
yeah. John, you want to
Friendly
change
amendment?
it
Sure. Sure, we'll move that to
to Terry Michaud?
Terry Michaud.
Okay.
Very good.
Are you ready for roll call?
Yes, please.
Townsend,
Aye.
Thibodeau,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Bickford,
Aye.
Pechotti.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item 24-14, order the town council hereby nominate recipient of the annual Spirit of America Award.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion.
You want to go, Stefan, or you want me?
Any thoughts?
You go, Peter.
Okay. I know we had two good organizations on the list, both meaning a lot for this community. One was the Cops for Kids, doing a lot of stuff for the kids, for the also too for trunk or treat and things like that. Other one is the Grange for the seniors. They're doing other stuff too. So both worthwhile organizations, and they're very hard to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Cops for Kids because I think they've done it over numbers of years, that they really do a very strong job maintaining with the kids and the trunk or treats and all the other stuff that they do. That's my opinion.
That's why I say it's very hard, because I have
Yeah, I know.
I do both them events too. Also too, I'm linked to one, so
Yeah,
it's very hard. So
understand.
And with Chief Gould here, you also utilize volunteers from the community as well for your efforts, don't you?
We did this year, yes, absolutely. We try not to, we try to do it all ourselves, but this year.
Breaking your own rules.
Yes, we're very honored to be on the short list. We do have volunteers that have helped out this year and the last couple of years in wrapping gifts, because there's a lot of work that's involved in that, and staff will work in here for 3 or 4 days solid getting it decorated. And wrapping presents is not as fun as it sounds when you're doing almost 1,000 of them. So yeah, we do have quite a few volunteers.
And how many years have you been doing that?
I believe this was our 16th or 17th year. I think it was the 17th, yes.
Yeah, and how many years have you been doing trunk or treats?
We started that during COVID.
COVID.
Right.
Because, you know, there was some question as to whether kids should be out on the streets, and we wanted to make sure that they all got a chance for some candy, so they did.
Yeah.
So
also
that
too,
was
they had some very imaginative costumes too.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
For trunk or treat too, because I'm out there too, I'm doing trunk or treat with them, and each year is very light and see the costumes out there, so.
We try to do a different theme every
Yep.
year.
Yeah. And being down-staffed as well, what you're able to pull off is amazing.
Thank you. We had a rough time this year, and because of the incident that happened in Lewiston, we were staffing that pretty hard, and of course, then we had the flood that occurred, and
Yeah.
it was kind of a toss-up, and we did a smaller version of it this year, but hopefully next year, staffing is better, and we'll be able to do the entire community center. Thank you.
Well, maybe we can have I'd like to see the Spirit of America Award go to the police department.
As a motion?
Well,
Who motioned?
Peter?
So you have a motion by Lawrence,
No, it's-
seconded by Thibodeau.
Would you like to move the police as?
Yes, I make a motion, the Spirit of America Award go to police department.
Second.
Yeah, you want to hold that second still?
Yeah. I'll
Friendly
hold second.
amendment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready for a roll call?
We are. Roll call.
All right. Townsend,
Aye.
Thibodeau,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Bickford,
Aye.
Pichotti.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. I'll keep the Victor Grange on the list for next year
Please.
as well.
Please.
Thank you.
Item 24-15, order the town council hereby schedules a special meeting of the Fairfield Town Council to be held in council chambers for the purpose of reviewing and discussing the draft fiscal year 2024-2025 budget with department heads on Saturday, January 27th, 2024 at 8 a.m.
So moved.
Second.
Yeehaw. Motion is second. Any discussion?
That's this Saturday.
That is this
My
Saturday.
question.
Or you
to-
could do February 3rd. You could do next Saturday.
Yeah, might as well get to it.
My
I've
question to you,
double-checked that
Michelle,
with
is
Steve.
all the nonprofits, I know last year we didn't have the nonprofits here.
So we don't usually have them come to your meeting unless you've specifically told me
Right.
that you want them to come.
Right.
Right, okay. Because I remember last year we voted.
We did, and what happened was,
Because they weren't here, so we couldn't have,
no, we didn't vote any of them down because they weren't here. What you did was you requested them to come to the Budget Committee's meeting, and you were part of that conversation with the
Right.
Budget Committee, and they attended that
Right.
meeting.
Yep.
But we don't usually invite them to your council meeting unless you need to, because they come, they sit here for hours, and sometimes we don't even have any questions.
Okay.
So last year, we had invited 2 of the nonprofits here for the Budget Committee meeting, and the council took part in that discussion.
that's what I make sure.
Yep. Good question.
Yep.
So, any more discussion on that?
But you could do next Saturday as well.
No.
I look at the calendars.
This
We're
everyone might
not,
as well-
right, we're not supposed to get a snowstorm on Saturday, are we?
Nope.
See, next Saturday, I'm not available.
You're not
That's why I mentioned.
No.
Next
This was
February-
in your calendar that
Right.
you approved at your last meeting.
Okay, so,
Saturday, it's supposed to be 35 degrees and cloudy.
all right. As
There you
long as
go.
we don't have a blizzard.
So, all those I guess you moved the roll call?
Move a roll
Christine?
call.
Ready for roll call?
We
All
are.
right. So for January 27th, 2024, Townsend,
Aye.
Thibodeau,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Bickford,
Aye.
Pichotti.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Who's bringing the donuts?
We always get the
Hillman's.
donuts.
I know you do. I will
Larry
partake.
brings them.
No, he does not. We buy them.
So our 7th order of business, the council workshop and other business. The first one is to discuss public safety ordinance, Article 1, parking, Section 10, parking update request for Main Street.
So you had this request back in December about changing some of the lots in front of Sunny's to 30-minute parking. At that time, you recommended that this go back to the Public Works Department and the Police Department for review. And you have what the chief has put together to address it. Somewhere I have it.
Yep. Would you like to have us read that so people understand it, or?
Just a minute. I'm looking, I was in the wrong meeting, that's why I couldn't find it. So, basically, what this is there's amended language, and this isn't for you to approve tonight, this is for you to discuss, this would have to come back to you, and because it's an ordinance, it requires a public hearing anyway, so. This amended language that the chief would recommend, he thinks that 3 spots across the street should return to 2-hour parking, and 5 spots in front of the Masons, NES Files buildings should be 30-minute parking. The reasoning would be because it's easier to post using the 2 signposts that are actually already there, that the parking would be in between the 2. And then we would go back to the 2-hour limitation. And then 2-hour limitation expires at 9 based on the ordinance. So at the time when this was done, the Meridian's bar customers could start parking in those spots at 8:30 and would not be in violation if they stayed later into the evening. But that's it. It's pretty simple fix. And both Public Works and Police are here this evening if you should have any questions for either of them regarding this change.
I just need something clarified.
Certainly.
So there are 5 spots in front of the Mason and ES Viles building. That would be 30 minutes.
It would be 30 minutes. Correct.
Why 5? Is it because the signs were already in place?
Because it's the easiest way to put signage up in that location. And it forces the vehicles that are, well, it doesn't force them, but people that are going into Sunny's are in there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It prevents them from having to cross the street. It gives them more room, more access in there. Yeah. And then across the street, if you're gonna go into the Meridians and you're gonna have a meal, or you're gonna go into Sunny's and you're gonna have a meal, or the establishment on Main Street and you're gonna have a meal, it gives you a little bit more time to be able to park. And it's a little bit safer. There'll be less foot traffic crossing that intersection if all of the people who are going in and coming right back out are parking in the same location. But basically, signage was my reason.
One of these
behind it.
spots can be for Sunny's, I know they have deliveries. I don't know if that request came out, is that going to be just one spot for your Sunny's itself, or all?
Their deliveries are encouraged to be done out back.
Okay.
All deliveries on Main Street on that side are encouraged to be done in the back, down here on Mill Street.
My biggest concern was the number of spaces that this 30-minute parking would take up in light of how many vehicles have been out in front of Meridians. But we may not need to worry about that anymore.
Well, yes, I think we do, because
Whatever
Meridians is
replacement.
gonna reopen under a new name, or a new business is gonna come in there. Both. I don't expect those will be empty very long.
How many parking spaces are there, Chief?
Thanks. That I don't recall. I think there's about another 4.
2, 3, 4. I think there's either another 4 or 5.
So 9, there's 9 in all?
Yeah.
I think
And on the
there's
other
either
side
9
of
or
the
10.
street,
There's 3.
There's 3. And then there's all of the parking that's down back here.
But out back, they've got it.
So I guess we move it till, I mean, it's just the workshop at this point. We heard it, have to ask questions, and if we want to move it to the...
So do you want, if you agree with these changes, or do you want different changes?
I would like to see 2 parking spaces in front of Sunny's for 30-minute parking.
Bruce, maybe you should come up and discuss maybe how you could get signage for that.
Because there's also the parking that is closer to Beatty's.
There is. Now the signs are held on to the green light poles.
Right.
Okay. If you want to do just 2 street signs, 2 parking spots, we're going to be driving metal post into the sidewalk. Just another obstacle for folks walking, shoveling, plowing.
That does pose a problem, doesn't it?
Is that all you needed?
Yeah, I still don't like it, though.
So you don't have to vote on this, right?
No, we don't, but still.
You could get a chance to bring it back next time.
So that way you can, you can go take a look at
Right,
that
go take a-
location
yeah.
and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
Go walk
Yeah.
around and take a look and see
So-
what you think.
Well, I just,
Nobody reserved the
I
right
just
to
had a
speak.
comment about the signage. When you're coming down Main Street from Waterville, the sign for coming down here for the police department and the community center, in very small lettering, it says that there's public parking. I have no issue with the 30-minute parking. I think it's a safety issue for people crossing the street for takeout. I would ask if we could put a bigger sign with like a P and an arrows or public parking so that people know that there's public parking down behind. Because had I not lived in this town forever, I would have no idea. So just a suggestion.
Yeah, very good.
That's a good comment too, because I saw it all summer. Nobody knew there was parking out back. What about turning it and compromising and go 60 minutes everywhere versus 30 minutes here, 2 hours there, hour here? Just go 60-minute parking everywhere. And you can have one sign on one end and one on the other.
So to me, we can discuss that, but to me, if you have a restaurant that's back, that means there is an hour time frame.
60 minutes is
60 minutes can be pretty tight to. So again, the idea is to have the fast turnover for the folks that are going to Sonny's.
Yep.
And that was the consideration there, and have that safety factor.
I might just add that there is 3 slots across the street that are 30-minute parking. So, if you picture it as we're moving 3 slots across the street, and those 3 slots over on the other side are going to be 2-hour parking now, you're only adding 1.
Two more. 3 for 3 plus 2.
Right, correctly. There's 3. There will be the 3 parking spots that are across the street that are 30-minute parking only will now be 2-hour parking. So it just moves them across the street to where the business is actually located.
Okay, thank you.
So, council, do you have some thoughts?
No. I've stated mine.
Yeah, so would you like to do anything tonight, or would you like to actually take a chance to walk and take a look?
No, I've walked it before,
Yeah.
but
Well, you can't do anything tonight.
Right.
Right, so it's subject to a public hearing.
Right.
So what we need to know is whether you want us to put these amendments that have been put forth to a public hearing so that you can vote on them at your next meeting.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what we're looking for general
Good idea.
consensus, or are you looking for more than that?
good idea.
I think it's worthwhile to put on for next time.
I mean, and then you can have your public hearing and you can vote on it then.
Right.
Okay. We'll get that on once we can get everything scheduled and hearings.
So number 2 is to discuss 31 Lawrence Avenue. So, what would you like to say about it? So you got, council, do you have questions or thoughts about 31 Lawrence Avenue first?
We inherited a pig and a poke.
Correct.
I reviewed this right from
2000.
2008. That's right. Two different town managers. And when Michelle came on board with a big mess. A big mess. Now it's being to a light now on what we need to do with it. And everything is right in the packet, right from what they bought it at, how they bought it, what they did with it, how the options were between the realtor and the 2 options. And they chose the worst one to keep it. And now it's just sitting there. It had abatements and things like that. Now it's just sitting there rotting. We need to do something with it.
So, Mr. Chairman, would you like to just explain to folks how it is that the town, or I can
Yes.
read this, as to how the town acquired 31 Lawrence Ave?
That'd be great.
So in May of 2008, it was done at town meeting. It was voted on by written ballot. The yes votes cast were 44, the no votes cast were 23. The town, and this is the article, The town voted to authorize the town council to purchase land and buildings contiguous with the Lawrence Public Library for an amount not to exceed $210,000 and to appropriate the sum of $75,000 from the library reserve account for the purpose, and to authorize town council to borrow the balance needed at terms and conditions they deemed in the town's best interest, and to sell any extra land and buildings purchased, and to apply the proceeds of the sale to the loan and to the library reserve account. And then on October 1st, 2008, in the town council meeting minutes was resolution 0859, motion by Bouchard, second by Tessier, to allow borrowing for the land adjacent to the library. Discussion follows. Manager stated this is in conjunction with the last town meeting where we were authorized to borrow up to $135,000 to purchase this property. We have made a deal and now need to pay for it. We will be going with TD Bank, who had the best rate for a little over 5%. The loan could not be considered a municipal tax-free loan because there's a possibility that we may sell a portion of this land. We would have had to make that decision before they receive the loan in order for it to be tax-free. It is not strictly nonprofit, so we cannot take advantage of it being a non-taxable bond. Councillor Stevens asked where the additional funds are coming from, and the manager stated that the money would be coming out of the library trust account. So those pieces happened. They worked a lease. The prior owner lived there for a great deal of time. The town then in turn rented the property for a large number of years at a significant revenue loss. It got to the point where one of the tenants left and gave us the opportunity, and then we went through the process of not renewing the lease for the other tenants in the other apartment after doing multiple inspections. And this has come up for discussion in 2011. It came up for discussion again. I think you'll find some stuff in 15 or 13. It was put forward as to what to do with the building. In 2011, there's an email from, at the time, town manager Josh Rennie, that says at the last workshop, the council discussed options for 31 Lawrence and decided to indefinitely postpone any action. It is likely they will take it up the issue again in the next calendar year. It was not ever found that it was discussed again until we brought it forward in 2016. There's a good memo from prior memo when they were discussing it in 11 from Josh Rennie that does talk about a lot of the history and how it came about. So the library had gone through Sheridan, and there is a design for the expansion to the library that would come off the back side of it, lend itself for better handicap accessibility, because if you notice now, there's stone steps in the front. It's difficult to put in a ramp. And they can't be altered. Well, it can be altered, but nobody wants to because of the historical preservation purpose of the building. The council voted to sell off the pieces that have been split, so the property line now goes right through the garage. Back in 16, and then by 17, changed it. Because it took until May of 17 for the tenants to vacate. So this is from a council meeting of 5/14/17, where tenants are vacating with a prior determination to discontinue town landlord practice. Council discussed various possible options, including listing to sell, putting out to bid, or creating a parking lot. The building is low value, may have significant issues. At minimum, the garage has to be removed. There may be liability if kept abandoned. Building concerns. Managed to explore expenses for various possibilities and provide measurements for possible parking scenarios, which those did end up getting provided. And it was left in, was it 17, June of 17? With the ending lease, council reviewed letter of notice. Manager provided draft parking proposal for consideration that might possibly accommodate up to 40 new spaces, including van spaces. The land use ordinance will require ADA updates. Preliminary estimates for building removal, including asbestos and lead remediation, is anticipated to be near $36,000. Fire department statements was that the building could not be burned to the ground, however, it could be utilized for some training. Later in 18, we applied for a brownfields grant, so to remediate the issues in the building. not only for that building, but we also applied for the building that we ultimately gave to the Grange out next, that is now a parking lot out there. We were denied that brownfields grant because at the time, they did not feel a parking lot was significant economic development. And that's where the property has sat since then.
So yes, so picking it up again.
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of asbestos in that building.
Well, the roof, the roofing is.
Yep.
And it also mentioned about the coverings on the pipes in the basement.
Yeah, they would need to be tested. So we have not paid for the Phase 1 environmental assessment that we need to have done. That's what we were hoping the Brownfields grant would pay for, because that is expensive. So we have to hire a company to come in, do that assessment on that building before it could be dismantled and torn down, and then pay for its disposal. So what they do is they come in, they tell you what the asbestos is, the quantities are, the estimates for that. That has to be filed with the state. We have to prove that it goes to a secure landfill facility. That all gets reported. That's how that process works, so.
It was a wise purchase. That was sarcastic.
I have never seen the plans for the library expansion. I don't know, I think the library might have them, I'm not sure, I've just never seen them. But we could certainly contact Sheridan and see if they still have them on file.
So I think that's, so then, I know there are some public comment that would like to be made at this time, but I think that's a really good rundown of what the history is and where we're at the moment. It's not an easy solution.
It is.
Well, it's going to require some discussion. So I'd be open to hear some options.
What got me going on this is, of course, Facebook we have, but I conversed with you on a couple of things, and one of your comments were there are a lot of issues regarding this lot. It was decided some time ago that the library could potentially use extra space for accessibility, as the town manager has described. In the future, town planning, so the library lot was extended into a part of this property. It was also discussed that there was a lack of parking for the park when events were held. This would help remedy that. The town had decided to tear down as the cost of renovation and remediation as asbestos, lead, etc. were significant. Even demolition will prove to be costly due to the above factors, but the town manager has been looking at a number of avenues, as indicated tonight, to reduce the cost to the town. There have been no final plans, so things like a dog park, etc. would always be welcome as we move forward. It's good to see some responses and engagement. I appreciate that response. Now, this was back in November when I started getting involved, had approached you, sent you an email, which I'm going to read. But these are just because I wanted to get away from the Facebook thing, but this is another that you had sent to another resident in town. To make sure that everyone knows, apparently this is the conversation was going on, but from you, to make sure everybody knows that was in 2008, where there can be a workshop discussion on the building, but I wanted to make sure that the purchase was before the current council or manager. I think it is always good to ask why and assume good intent. Now we have to look at what we have and try to make the best of the current situation. And that's what we're here for tonight. We got some information, thank you, because, but here was my message to you, and I sent a copy of it to every other council member as well, Mr. Chairman. Never got a response from any of them. But I did from you, and I appreciate it. Hello, Matt. I'm writing this request in reference to the property located next to the library. As you know, there have been posts regarding that property, and it has brought about many questions. I understand, based on your comment, that it was purchased in 2008. It was also indicated that there have been discussions about the building. it was purchased in 2008, then it would mean that the initial action was prior to 2008. Apparently not. It all took place in 2008, correct?
From what we have.
The purchase happened in 8, yes.
Right, so despite who were the members of the council at the time, it unfortunately now has become a situation for this council. If in fact the council has had discussions in said building, of said building, it should be public information. This is the first time we've got any. I suggest that there be a committee put together of members of the community and that the committee be given access to all and any documentation, including but not limited to the minutes of meetings before it was purchased and early after it was purchased. I mention a committee due to the extensive legwork that it may entail. This will allow the town manager to continue with their job and not take away from any other important business. I would also suggest that the committee chairperson have access to the town manager for purposes of obtaining information that may go beyond the scope of the committee, such as the MMA. I think there are many good ideas out there that should be addressed and the information made public. I think this is an affirmative action that is required and would be able to answer many questions that the community has. With the biggest one, why is there nothing being done? If there is, then the community needs to be aware of it. Thank you for making that aware tonight. Having a committee would take some of the burden off of the council and town manager, allow the community to be involved and address the pros and cons. Again, sir, I request that this be placed on the agenda at the next council meeting under the separate article or under old business. This is something positive, in my opinion, that is based on public comments and posts from the ones who are speaking. And there may be many who wish not to, meaning there's a lot of residents out there that don't get on social media, but have concerns as well.
Sure.
Should you have any questions, please feel to contact me and my personal information. I wanted to share that because I think that, I mean, we talked, Chairman, that and you said, well, maybe I'll have to go down there myself, meaning yourself, too, and dig that out. 2 months ago, back in November, had we been able to address this, we'd already have that information. I wouldn't be having to stand here now. So I appreciate you giving me the time to speak on that, and I really hope that something positive can happen with it, and I know there could be environmental purposes or reasons for it. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
We need comments of, copies of those emails for the minutes.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah, I second that. So all of these emails that are being referred to, not a single one has come to me, and they are all required to be filed with the clerk under FOIA and record retention. So if you could forward all those to ckeller@fairfield-me.gov or info@fairfield-me.gov, that would be greatly appreciated. I'd love to have that information for the record.
I would kindly do that, but I wasn't aware that if I'm sending an email to the chairman that I have to send an email or share it.
That's all right, because I've got them all saved, so they can be sent.
So, okay, would you be able to do that?
Should be able
I
to.
can do it too.
Nope.
I apologize. I didn't know that it
No,
needed
just make
to
sure
go.
that we pull out into the record, so we want to make sure it's out on the public record, so it's all transparent.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Is that too long? No. It's your fault. No. Give me a second. Knees are stiff. Okay. I have a few considerations regarding 31 Lawrence Street, and I don't know all the other properties that are owned by the town. We definitely need a new website. That one is not user-friendly. And anyway, part of my concern with what's going to happen with this house, I hear a lot, and we're seeing a lot of demo going on, where houses are just being demolished. that makes me very sad, I gotta say, for multiple reasons. One, we have a major housing crisis in the state of Maine and across a lot of the United States in general. Why are we tearing down houses when we need more housing? Fairfield needs more housing. Not a question, just comment. So can we consider certain things such as, these houses are, I don't know the year that one was built. I know the year mine was built. By the way, anybody that doesn't know me, I live at 55 High Street, so I'm right there on the corner of High and Kelly Street. I have the Kelly House. It is 137 years old. I've been in there for 3 years now, still working on it. Long way to go, but it's worth every penny, every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears I put into that house. It's worth it because it's solid as a rock. You cannot get over 100-year-old wood anymore unless you're going to a salvage place, and then you're going to get pieces. These places are rock solid. When we had the inspection done on our house, the gentleman asked me, he said, "How familiar are you with old houses?" And I said, "I grew up in a house that was, at that point, we thought built in 1903, ended up being older than that." So he understood, I knew what I was getting into. So some of the things that worry me are, again, this demo thing. Asbestos can be remediated. We know this.
So
Lead can be
can I just-
remediated. We know
One quick
this.
time out, though. So one of us thought maybe we can bring out another section that we may actually want to talk about, which would be housing, which would be another, I mean, I want you to finish up this, but that
Right.
is, what with your, on that roll, is to talk about that and have that bigger picture, bigger discussion, so I just think it's.
Definitely, that's
that could roll into that.
definitely one little tiny piece, but as I said, you can't replace old wood. This house is well over 100 years old. You're not going to find that density anymore. We don't let trees grow long enough. They grow too fast now. We can get on and on with that. But this old wood is denser, stronger, longer lasting than anything that's grown now. So if you're going to tear down and rebuild, you're building something less than what you just gave up. So along those lines, there are groups of people all over the country that are looking for houses like these to buy as is, then fix up and live in. Options can be sell it to be moved. If you need the property, sell the building. Let a buyer come in and get it for a very discounted rate. Let them move the building and let them do all the remediation and everything else that's needed for it. They will buy them. If it's $50,000 or less, they're jumping on them and buying them. They're like, that's pennies to them. And these are young people. We need more young people in the area. We also need more business in the area. So with this, you're bringing in more people that are like with the trades, which we're also trying to get more of, right? You're going to need the electricians, you're going to need the craftsmen, you're going to need, you name it, plumbers, etc., right? They're going to need to come in and work on these houses with these people that are buying them. So I think it's kind of a waste to basically throw away a piece of town history that could be moved, put someplace else. This has been done in so many other cities, townships, you name it, all over the country, where they'll pick them up, move them, put them someplace else. Any of you gentlemen in here that are baseball fans, Cooperstown, New York, have you ever been?
3 times.
Then you know about Cooperstown, not just the Baseball Hall of Fame. Have you been there?
Yeah.
Every one of those buildings has been purchased from someplace else and moved to make Cooperstown. Did you know that?
Most of them.
Every one of them.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's all of them. I'm from New York. It's all of them.
Including
They've been moved.
Including the hotel, or?
Pardon?
Including the hotel?
Yes, actually.
I don't think, the big one?
The big one.
Was it all moved there?
It's been
But
added
yes, it's
on
great,
to.
it's great, yeah, okay, it's a great town.
Yeah.
But yeah,
One
no, totally
example.
agree. So I think with the discussion, I'll let you keep on going, but at some point, I think it comes down to Mr. Nichols' discussion. Hey, that there are other options. Maybe
There
this has been discussed a lot, but let's come to a final resolution, and whatever it is, let's live with it. But I think you bring out some other great choices. So
Good. I wanted to make sure that you were thinking of these things because I've never heard any mention of anything that I brought forth so far from anybody. And we're kind of in the First I heard of it was just a few months ago, and it was like, what do you mean? That house is historic to this town. That lady donated the land for the library. Lawrence didn't donate the land. He donated the money for the library, but he didn't donate the land. That was that house. We're going to give that up?
Maybe.
That's a
But I
huge
think it's
historical
I think it's a great discussion to
property.
have, right?
Pardon?
I think it's a great discussion to have. And
It
that's why, I
is,
think that's what
so
we're talking about.
I
And that's-
love the idea of having a committee. I would volunteer to be on it in a second. I will figure out my job part. But, as I said, many other towns have done this. There are TV shows galore about doing this, anywhere from down in Mississippi to Detroit, Michigan. That house, I know it's not in great shape. Only eyeballing it from the street, looking at it, I'm like, oh. But I know it's rehabable. So if we have to move it, we have to move it, but it's rehabable. Tearing it down should not be an option because of what you're giving up. The historical value alone to Fairfield is huge. So you got to think about that. The jobs, like I said, that you would be bringing. You bring the tradespeople here, there's plenty of work for them to do, my house included. We're going to have to feed them.
So what,
We're gonna need more.
what other houses are we talking about, though?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. I don't know what other houses you own. I see plenty of empty houses
We don't have-
around.
There's only one other one that the town owns.
Okay, I was told there were 8, so there's only one other property
Yeah, only one.
besides 31?
That the town owns?
Yeah.
Not downtown.
There's one.
The yellow one?
The yellow one.
So 2 total.
That's right here on Main Street is the only other apartment building that we own.
That's only two.
I mean, unless you count the recent foreclosures, but which just happened on Monday, so.
Yeah, I don't even know which ones those are.
No,
But
just 2.
look at the maps displayed in our town office. Sorry, lost my word. Most of those places, Michelle was watching me and talking about how my house used to be pink, and I was like, it will never be pink again. But, of course, colors aren't on there, and it's not completely accurate. It's hand-drawn, et cetera. But the point is, you look at all the things we've lost, all the buildings that we've lost, that should be important to the people that live here in this town, because that picture right behind you is prime example. Does it look like Main Street now? Why not? Why don't we fight more for what
So-
we have that we should be valuing in the
So
long
that's
run?
part of the bigger discussion, right? So
Okay.
this is like, so this council is actually addressing it, something that's been done years before, and maybe we have a chance to do something about it. So that's one thing, so that's a positive. The next thing is some people, so unless you tighten up your zoning even more and become very restrictive, if it's owned, whoever owns that property, and if it's in the right zone, and they want to do with what they want to do with that property, at this point, they can do with what they want to do with that property.
Oh, I know, the one I bought. I heard
Yeah,
all the
so-
stories.
So,
I
mean,
know.
So that's a bigger discussion, right?
Yeah, but I want to make sure that you're thinking outside of the box that all I've heard about
Yeah. So-
and all I've seen. And can I ask, I believe the school bought the property on Western Ave, is that right? The one that was condemned,
Just torn down?
that was torn down? Do we know why everything was left in there to
That
go to the
wasn't purchased
dump?
by the school.
Pardon?
That
It's
was
not
not
purchased by the
purchased by
school.
the school.
Okay. So who owns that?
That was purchased by Casella, Pine Tree.
The one on Western? The
Correct.
big
Western
house
Ave?
that kind of collapsed?
Yes.
Correct.
I thought they bought the 3 on Main Street.
They did.
Okay. I don't even want to think about that. Why was it torn down with everything inside of it? You're filling
Again.
but you're filling a
we don't- I didn't
landfill.
feel
But no,
it
I'm just saying,
around.
it's not it's a rhetorical question.
Yes, sure.
Because you're filling a landfill with all this stuff. People were outraged about all these antiques, da-da-da-da-da. Wow, I'm just thinking, we're not going to have anywhere for our grandchildren, in my case, and beyond, if we keep going like this. There's not going to be a Fairfield. I mean,
There
nothing.
will be. It'll be a good fear. It'll be a good Fairfield. So
I'm not convinced at this point, but I will continue to work on my house and make it more beautiful and more valuable to this town and be the landmark that it is.
yeah. Well, thank you
Thank you.
for everything, for whatever you're doing at your house. So I appreciate that. We all are. So, any discussion on us for as a council? Thanks for the input. So.
Well,
To me, I think there are some options.
there's
right?
definitely options. I grew up on High Street, not far from you, Carol Ann. And our house was built that house was built around 1890. And I know what you mean.
We have to value that.
Yeah.
We have to.
And, but at this point, our options would be to put it on the market, to do demolition, which I don't want to see. And then there's also the fact that there's the Elliott House, the yellow house next to the Donnelly Building, which we own.
That property was kept as an incentive for a developer should one ever go into the creamery building. So there's no parking at that building. So as an option, economic development option, that property was kept and retained, which would be, same situation, which would enhance parking for those businesses that are located right there across from Cumberland Farms.
Okay. I think we need not only to take action on the Good House, but we also need to take action on the Elliott House. And it's long overdue. So I think that we should put it,
So what does that look like?
I'm in favor of putting it on the market for the Good House. And that is, you've made excellent points, because I watch those shows too on HGTV and Magnolia Channel. So,
So is that realistic, though? at
I
this point?
think
So it's been sitting, unfortunately, I'd
we're
actually.
losing money either way.
Well, yeah, would I love to see it be renovated? Yeah, I would. As you drive down Lawrence, it's a beautiful spot. At the same time, so now the lot has been split.
And
So we'd
there's
have to-
nothing saying that the person that purchases it doesn't tear it down either.
Right.
That's right. But wait, that option is there. When the house was first purchased in 2008, it came through because there was going to be a committee from the library to create a capital campaign for the addition to the library. That never happened. We don't know what happened to that, but somebody did drop the ball. And I just think that for our benefit, if we put the house up out on the market, maybe it will be purchased within a year's time. It's just been sitting there anyway
Great.
Since 2008. Well,
16
2011,
anyway,
since the
yeah.
people moved out.
17, yeah.
No,
So it's turning into a little bit of a,
No,
But yeah,
just-
you're lying.
need
Sorry,
to-
I brought up some good points. Thank you, guys. If you put it on the market and you advertise in the right areas, that house will sell in a matter of weeks. It won't be sitting there for a year. People want these houses because they want the old historic buildings. It's why I bought the one I did. That and my couch would fit in the living room. That was key. True. So, do we need it's technically a 4-bedroom, but there's a 5th bedroom on the 3rd floor. Do we need a 5-bedroom house? No, but that's what we have.
So that's great, that bigger discussion, and we can talk more at council, but when you have that, you start then looking at, do you put a time frame on it? We put it up for market. If it's not sold within X amount of time, then we move on to Plan B. So, because we don't want it to continue to sit there.
But you've let it
vacant.
sit there for years, so watch how long your time is. You're going to have an angry
but
town
we're acting
again.
on it now, right? So
Yeah.
I want to put that out there, that this council is at least addressing it, and it's been brought forward by the public, which is great. This is the way it's supposed to work. There's a question, a concern, it's brought forth, and we start working on it. So I think there's things to do. I think it's really important going forward that we have some time frames, we have some timelines on it, because that obviously wasn't done before, because it was like, oh, it's there, now it's going to sit there, and it's like, well, what's that going on with that? Well, we're still waiting, so let's move it along. So that's all I'm saying.
I think it needs, whatever happens, we need to have a firm time frame,
Right.
and we stick to it.
Right.
And as for Mr. Nichols' recommendation that it be a committee that does that, to the extent that we need to talk about that, I think there is a safety issue involved at this point, to go in and just hand over the key to someone. I think we need to be careful of that.
That's disclosed. You have to disclose it when you sell it.
Yeah.
That would be disclosed.
No, we're talking about, I think
Yeah.
you're talking about as a committee.
As a committee.
Oh, well,
As a committee.
called hard hats and watch where you
But no,
step.
but still.
Honest God.
So, but anyways.
I'll be on
So-
your committee.
My next question, Michelle, did you say that the garage it's split now?
Yes, there's no backyard to that property at all.
Okay, so the dooryard would be still the,
So the driveway still exists, but the garage that's in the back is where the property line now is to the library.
okay, so it would be, the garage is
It's
still...
basically the house footprint and the driveway is what's left.
Okay. I went by today and took some pictures of it and stuff, and I agree with you 100%. I say towns, we've been in it this long, let's put it up for purchase and get some of our money back, put it back
Exactly.
into the town account.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of letting it rot to the ground, I mean, that's all it's gonna do.
I just wanted to echo the fact, and I appreciate you recognizing that. I really think, and I'm asking this council to grant a committee, get one going, look at what other options, even if that building moves, you still gotta decide what you're gonna do with it, whether the library. Now, that I'm confused with. Where, how much, is that been left to the library?
It was purchased specifically for the library. It
So
was for the
nobody can
library.
the town can't do it, but it is town property.
Yeah.
Right? But the town can't do anything because of that? Is there a clause?
It would require a town meeting vote.
Pardon me?
It would require a town meeting vote to do anything different with it.
Okay. I still, I'm all about having a committee to kind of look at, even if that house doesn't sell, then what? So the best way to address it with other people's opinions is the more you get, the better off you are. Sometimes not.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was mentioned that a loan was procured for the property. Do we still owe on that loan, or has that been paid?
No, that's long since been paid.
It's long since been paid.
So
And-
any sale of the property, though, as the order was written, would go back to the library.
Would go to the library. Okay, and then my other question is, are there particular rules in place for a municipality selling a property? Like, can you just go to any realtor and say,
Yes.
hey, we have
Yep.
this property
Yes,
we
we
want to
can.
sell?
Yes.
Okay, and determine what the fair market value and all that is? Okay,
So
thank you.
Yeah, I'd be leaning that, so we can talk about what we want to do as a council. Some good feedback, I appreciate that. Would you like to have this workshop discussion, how do you like to move forward?
I would like to have on our next agenda the discussion on the Elliott House.
As well.
And to reach a decision on what to do about the Good House. Whether it be through a citizen committee or through town council action. I need time to think
Yeah.
about the citizen committee because,
Well,
and I want to be.
It's going to have to probably be just like we've done with the building committee and PFAS and whatever else. So it's going to have a combination on that end to be part of that.
It's not just putting together a committee, it's also the timeframe for a committee, what the goal is going to be. Because is it going to be a committee that's going to take place on overseeing? It can't, if we're going to put it up for sale, that goes through the town manager because we're dealing with town funds.
Right.
But
So-
you're referring to something, if the house does not sell, Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Then that's when the committee would come forth.
Now, until tonight, I don't think a lot of people understood that it was actually purchased specifically for the library. There were a lot of ideas out there, dog park, more parking, and now that the property has even been reduced, you couldn't even do all of that, that other people have thought for a long time, apparently. So I think that if specifically it's for it, then the council needs to move forward with, okay, get the building out of there. And I think selling it is an ideal thing as long as it can be moved. and then move forward with what the library wanted, providing the
It
funds are
would be nice to
available
see
for
the
that.
plans, too, if we could dig those up.
Thank you.
Yep.
So do you want an action item for your next meeting, or are you looking for another workshop?
I
And you
I'll
can
yield.
do an action, I'm just trying to think of,
How do you
if
want
we
it?
were going to word what your action item is in a motion, what's that gonna look like?
We would
You-
have
you
to have
don't-
something about a decision being made
don't.
at that meeting.
I mean, it's not saying that we can't, the chairman and I can still work through that process before the next meeting, and you guys can give,
Right.
but,
I think, first of all, I want to know if there is a plan. I would like to see the plan for the library, because that was the initial intent of that in 2008, and it was a referendum
I can
vote.
contact Sheridan and see if they still have it.
We need to see that.
And we can try to reach out to Lou Bickford, maybe she knows where that plan is.
Yeah.
But Alyssa did not know.
Yeah, and then for the Good House, we could always put it up under a discussion item, and then, depending on discussion, make a motion.
You can make a motion in your workshop,
So,
there's nothing stopping you from doing
I
that.
think that's the route to go, and then we make a
Can
decision.
I ask
on
one
the
quick
other.
clarifying
By all
question?
means.
Carrie.
Did you say that the intent was initially for the library and to build onto the library, and that was voted on by referendum by the people already?
Yes.
Thank you.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah,
So then, yes, that's part of the discussion, right?
yeah.
But I think that's good. I think that should be an action item for next time. And there's a lot of good discussion and considering what options we can use. You good?
And one more thing. Going back to what Carol Ann said, there's companies out there that would come in and demolish a building and keep the wood. And if we're not going to find anybody to sell it, at least make that offer for out there.
There's a lot of money in there.
So,
We had actually investigated that and had folks in line for when it did go out to bid, if that's what was going to happen, that had looked at doing, and it was going to be the conversation at that time with the council was that it was a condition of its removal, that anything that was in it that could be salvaged was to be salvaged, and then it was to be torn down. Because the roof is leaking, because it's plaster and lathe, because it's caving in, all of these things, it was just not deemed worthy of fixing, and the value of parking at that location because of the park and events was worth more. But we'll get this back on for you, and I'll see what I can do about getting that Sheridan plan.
okay.
Yes, I'm going slow. Give me a second. Okay. My roof leaks. Okay, my roof leaks in my house still, with multiple patches, and with half of it being replaced, my roof leaks. It doesn't, yes, we've had plaster come down. It's fixable. Plaster can be redone. I've done it. I'm pretty good at it if somebody needs help. So these are fixable things. I realize there's a
I think those are all
whole,
great, but I think that's why we need to have this committee to talk about it, because, again, time frame wise, we all think it's going to turn around and sell in 2 weeks, and somebody's going to come in and start a renovation on it, it's going to be fixed up in 18 months. We could be sitting on it for 3 years, trying to find that right person.
Down first.
And so there's some of those things, I think that's where we need, but I think they're all good options, and I'm not putting up a roadblock to that. I think it's just, we will have to see, we have to have a plan A, plan B, plan C.
Understood.
So we have to have like, hey, what do we want to do first? Do we want to sell it and move it? Do we want to sell it and renovate it? If those things don't happen, what's our next thing? So I think that's really important to have as part of a committee, and I think to have those options so it doesn't sit for another 12 years.
Okay, but there is a plan at this point, so that I'm perfectly clear. There is a plan at this point to get a committee together once you've decided,
Just
right?
just make it an action item. So is
Okay.
that committee, or is it to put up for sale next time? Don't know, could be all
I
those
think you
things.
still need that committee even if you're going to put it for sale.
Yeah, I think to clarify, the council has not guaranteed or
Right.
said that they're going to do a committee at all. This is going back on their agenda next meeting with a workshop with the additional
Yeah,
information that they've requested.
That's what I was asking. I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that I
Just for
understood.
clarification, they have
Yeah.
not guaranteed to do a committee or anything, so.
Okay, all right.
I understood that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Number 3 on the 7th order of business, discuss regulating cannabis.
Council Lawrence had requested that this be put on the agenda, so here it is.
Do you have something to say, or do you want to lead on that, or? And if it's getting later, and if you want to think about it and talk about it, and we can still have it next time. I don't want.
Because I'm just wondering too, there was a discussion, I attended a conference out in Solon, and MMA was there saying that the town can regulate what comes in town, what we have in town. That's what I just mentioned. So we just need guidelines out there, what to regulate.
So we have right now, we have our zoning policies in place.
So the regulations that we have in place that the town has done is what in our land use ordinance, that section that's in there. So we currently only allow retail cannabis businesses and adult use retail and
Well, I was mentioning this,
dispensaries.
I know what's in the land use to regulate it, saying how many actually can come in town.
So so that's the thing. So what does that look? So what are you seeing?
What we have now is what we have now.
Right. So that's what you're seeing. And what do you think? Or what are you thinking about? Or what are you thinking going forward?
Finding how many we get in town on all these, and put a regulation saying we'll stop it.
So that's what I'm going to ask. So
moratorium.
what are you
Moratorium,
thinking about? And then what your intentions are? So what your intentions are to?
Put a moratorium on saying
It does.
no more coming in town.
Okay. So that's something we can.
I can get you additional information on how a moratorium works.
Right. Yep.
And the same would go for regulating solar installations, right?
So again, what is that? Yeah. So
Okay, well,
so what is that? So I always think is to back up and say, okay, so what are you seeing? Then what are you thinking? And what do you want to think you want to do? And what do you intend to do?
Yeah.
So you had those steps. We should really try to work through those. So I'm just gonna pretend here. So I'm seeing a lot of solar farms going up. I think that maybe there are too many solar farms. I think we should talk about if there are too many solar farms. I intend to put together a moratorium on solar farms. That's kind of the process that you need to work through. And so if that's what you're thinking about, then yeah, that's what the town council's here for, so we should think about
Back in 2021.
But that's going to open up a real can of worms. But that's okay.
Back in 2021, when PFAS happened, I went to the fire station to get my water. I'm not open the can of worms, but the person who helps brings in the solar in town stated, I can bring 3,000 acres in town. That's a lot of acres in town on solar. And I've been hearing a lot of grumbling from residents saying, we're using too much property for solar.
So we should talk about that. But that's going to be, again, that comes back to land use ordinances and restrictions and everything like that, and that's okay if you want to go down that. And it's always good to debate, right? It's always good to debate. But I'm just saying, what we want to think about is what you're thinking, what you're seeing, and then what you're intending. So I think those are things to think through. That's just what I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying, as a council, that's what we have to think about, is how what that process looks like. And so if we want to move forward on expanding on that, or talking to the planning board about that, then great. But there's a lot there.
I know it's a lot there. I know what's out there and who runs it. So
yeah, but
and this is just the legal ones.
Right.
So it was the number of cannabis operations, as we discussed during the last public hearing, was discussed by the planning board when that section was added to the land use ordinance, and they opted not to put a number in, thinking that the businesses would regulate themselves legal businesses would regulate themselves, because you wouldn't have one on every street corner. Same thing with solar. So solar, you have to remember that in order for a solar field to go in, there has to be capacity within the existing grid. So it gets to the point where there's no room left for solar fields in a community, because the grid that actually transmits that power can't sustain it and can't hold it. So, but if you would like information on how a moratorium works, I don't think it's a moratorium. I think it becomes a land use ordinance for you. Right off the top of my head, it becomes a land use ordinance amendment. But we can certainly get you information on how a moratorium would work for your next meeting.
Would something like that go to a public hearing, or who would make those determinations?
Yeah.
Land use ordinances amendments require public hearings.
Okay.
And then they're approved by the town council. It's similar to what we just did recently when we had to make all of the changes at the end of December regarding LD 2003 for all of the accessory dwelling units. So,
Okay.
same thing.
And I'll keep my comments and opinions to myself till then. Thank you.
So how would you like to move forward on those items 3 and 4? Do you want to have a discussion about? I mean, so one of the things I think you should think very strongly about is what you want to, as a counselor, and it can be any of the 5 of us. What are you looking at? Are you looking at a moratorium? Are you looking at more restrictions? Are you looking at certain areas? And then is that something you want to? Is that something that you
popped up?
So is that something? So is that something you want to send to the planning board, a land use, or looking at the land use board?
I would like to see the revenue that we get from solar fields and cannabis operations, number one. I want to see the pros and the cons. And then, again, we're dealing with a private property issue. If somebody owns land, we can't tell them what they can and cannot do with that land.
Well, we can, but it's.
They have to follow the
right, but it has to be,
ordinances.
that's ordinary, right.
So, and they just redid the ordinances on the, Max is here, Max Kenny, and he can address that. The talk of the solar fields, and I believe cannabis was also mentioned, wasn't it, Max? And I'd like to see that specific language.
Yeah, and I don't think solar was any part of our amendments, but yeah.
I thought it was, because I thought I heard it mentioned on TV, but no? Okay. But at least have that highlighted for us so that we know what we're dealing with.
I'm not certain I can get you everything by your next meeting, but we'll
Past,
we'll see what we
present,
can
and
do.
so we can make plan for the future.
And the biggest reason is the revenue from solar. We'll have to get that information through the assessor.
Yeah.
That's why.
The revenue was, I thought through when I was on the legislation policy committee, the legislature is something out there, but it's being stopped at the legislation part, saying the money from that is supposed to go to each town that has in town, but it's stopped at state level.
That's for cannabis, right? So
Right, correct.
For cannabis, they're working that the municipalities would get a portion of the tax revenue that's generated from cannabis sales. And it would go direct to the municipality in which the facilities are licensed. So that piece is there.
Okay. So thank you, Michelle. Past, present, and then we can decide on the future.
And I would, so my only thoughts there would be that that's a lot to unpack.
Yep. So in a month's time.
Yeah, so I would say if we're really trying to focus on, and it has been, I think, a longer boiling or bubbling issue would be the Lawrence Avenue and the houses. So I would move that one should be actually on the more of the list for next time, if at all possible.
Yeah.
I know there's budget constraints right now, a lot of time. So I do.
We've already done the research, so.
Right, so a lot of that. So I
Very
think,
little to do
so
left.
I think that should really be.
Yep.
And that's
No,
just
I
me-
agree with you.
And that's just me speaking. I'm just 1 out of 5. So if you guys all
Yeah.
say no, that's not. We want to do more. That's great. But I think we really should focus on Lawrence Avenue and the other houses and have that one wrapped up one way or the other, and then move on to other issues. That's just.
Dwayne, what do you feel on that? You okay with everything?
So far, making sense. But yes, we should list them in priority and try not to do the cannabis and the solar both at the same time. Work on one issue and resolve that and then move on, simply because of land use ordinances and state law that we have to follow.
Yep.
The Lawrence Avenue property, my opinion, should have been dealt with a long time ago. But we're gonna deal with it now, so let's get the committee together and move forward.
Thank you, Dwayne. Reasonable thoughts.
Yep.
So, any more discussions on other items you'd like to discuss tonight?
Are we doing other council business?
Yes, other council business.
I'm good.
I'm good, I'm good.
Dwayne, you just had a chance to speak. Do you want to talk any other council business, anything else you'd like to talk about? I'm looking at,
So I'm all set for now.
I'm sure we're looking at that camera probably. So, Stephanie?
I'm good. I'm good.
Peter?
Oh, just remember too, February 11th is the Chocolate Festival right in the community center. The group out of Oakland for the 4th of July celebration is putting it on. So that's from 9 to 3. That's it.
Very good. We don't have much. I think the biggest thing is we can go around and around about it, but when we have the skating rink is going to be put out there, which is hopefully going to be very soon. We'll put out the all call, and hopefully we'll have some responses to help set it up and then help to keep maintain. Because I think it can be a real advantage. And as you look at our crazy weather, with it's 40 degrees, it's tough to keep ice hard. And so we'll have plenty of that. So we'll be skating into March and April if kids want to be there. So that'll be the good part. So anyway, I just be aware. Hopefully that's coming soon, and I'm looking forward to be out there pushing a broom and getting it set up. So thanks for a very productive meeting. I know there were a lot of difficult topics, and I think we all treated each other with respect, and I think we went forward. So I really appreciate it. You guys have a great night, and we'll motion to recess and sign. I don't know if we have anything to sign tonight because there's.
Thank you, everybody.